I'd like to call to order the school committee meeting of November 9th. You have before you an agenda and kind of a motion.
So moved. Second.
I think all in favor?
Aye.
I will say that in the superintendent's report, the MASC conference report will be put off to next time, just so we have a chance to ruminate over it. Any comments from the public? No hands are up. Everybody wants to get out. Can we have the superintendent's report?
Of course, yes. Good evening, everybody. I am without my usual notes today, so please forgive me if you hear a lot of ums and such, but I will do my best. We had a great homecoming week, October 25th to October 29th. It was so much festivity. It was really wonderful to be walking the halls to see how everyone got involved, even from our littlest students all the way up wearing their Whaler gear. There was door decorating, hallway decorating, and really impressive hallways, by the way. So I was very, very impressed to see the artistic talent that our students have. We had powder puff game. We had a homecoming court with the king and queen that were crowned, floats, homecoming floats, a parade, and all of this culminated with 8 Whaler athletic team wins on October 31st, with Nantucket keeping the Island Cup against Martha's Vineyard in a 27-7 win. So definitely a successful and wonderful homecoming week. I know that Catherine Kiley, our student council representative, will give you a more in-depth look when we get to her report a little bit later. As Dr. Leffery mentioned, the MASC conference, the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, in conjunction with the Massachusetts Association with School Superintendents Conference, was this past week and weekend. And we have not had a chance to debrief, so we will be moving that to our next meeting to be able to share with you all of the exciting sessions that we attended. And next is COVID information updates. Our test and stay program is very successful, going very well. This allows for students who have been deemed close contacts to be tested with the Binax Now antigen test, which is a rapid, non-invasive test. And if they are resulting as negative, they are able to stay in school, which has been great. We are still seeing COVID on the island. It is really important, and I want this message to go out to students and staff and parents that we continue to wear our masks over our noses all the time, and we continue our hand hygiene and continue to make sure we are keeping adequate distance. It is still here, it is still on the island, and we need to make sure that we are protecting ourselves and each other. I will be sending out a letter to staff and parents soon that comes from the Department of Education introducing the COVID, the Pfizer vaccines that are now available for our 5 to 11-year-olds. And this is wonderful that the CDC has approved this, so our youngest students can now be vaccinated. I have heard many, many things from doctors, from pediatricians, encouraging all students and all parents to bring their children to be vaccinated. It is safe, it is effective, and it is going to help us stay in school and make sure that our students can avoid any illness. We do know that children do get ill from COVID. So I'm planning to send out information about that. The hospital does have a vaccination clinic on Mondays from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. for our youngest 5 to 11-year-olds. It's very easy to make an appointment, and you do not need to pay for anything. So please look at that. I'm also looking into offering possible clinics again at the schools, as we did in the spring last year. My hope is that if the DPH is able to assist us with that, that would be great. But if not, the state is willing to send mobile vaccination clinics to districts. And my hope is that I can convince them to come out to lovely Nantucket if necessary. And that would be another great opportunity to get more children vaccinated. So that's the exciting news on the COVID information front. And finally, enrollment. We have enrollment here with this month resulting at 1,678 students. So we are up 2 students from last month. We're heading into a little bit of a quieter time where enrollment and withdrawal happens a little bit less. We do not see large groups of students coming in. However, with the new year, we do see some movement, especially with our immigrant families, because of time changes that are different. If you think about it, our Brazilian school system is on a very different schedule, being in the lower hemisphere. So sometimes we have new students coming in February, March. So we may see some movement at that time, but I think we will be seeing kind of a quiet period over the course of the next few months. And that's it for the superintendent's report.
Okay, any questions?
If I may, to the chair, the COVID vaccine, I know it has nothing to do with you or us here, but is there a reason why they're doing it at 2 p.m.?
That is the hospital's decision in making it happen on Mondays. I would guess so that students can be out of school and they're able to do it.
I was possibly thinking maybe a little bit later, because 2 p.m. they're still in school.
They are still in school, that's true. 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. So I think it's by appointment, so you can certainly make an appointment for a later time.
And I can speak to them and see if they can address that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Paul, so it's 2 to 5 students are vaccinated. Is it all possible to have some sort of vaccination on our campus?
I'm looking into that to see if the Department of Education, the Department of Health can assist in a vaccination clinic from a Nantucket vaccination clinic, but if that doesn't work, I do know that the state is strongly encouraging and strongly supporting vaccination mobile units coming, so I can put my name in and hope that they come, so.
Thank you.
Sure.
If they come in November, they can come in June.
My hope is yes.
If we get to 80%, will we consider lifting the mask mandate? I think that's what Desi put out.
We will certainly consider it, but we have to have as many people as we can provide that information. And currently, we are mandated until January 18th, regardless.
Okay.
Presentations and discussions of issues of interest to the committee. CVTE presentation.
Thank you, Chairperson Leckery and School Committee for inviting us here this evening. I'm just going to do a quick intro and then turn it over to our teachers. So what we were asked was to tell you a little bit about our vocational courses that we were offering here at the high school. Go on to the next slide. So one of the courses that we offer is criminal justice. We are fortunate to have SRO Officer Cassie Thompson who teaches this class. She does a really great job with the students. I've gone into her class a couple of times. I think the one that I found most interesting, she was teaching a unit on what it was like when students or someone would be arrested and what would happen when they would go to the police station. It was an interesting conversation and the students had a lot of questions. If you go to the next slide. She also takes the students out to show like her cruiser and what that looks like. At this particular class session, it was interesting that the students had never seen inside one before, thankfully. So it was interesting, they were asking questions on, like what the inside of that it looks like and all the buttons, and I don't know how many have been in a police cruiser, but the driver's seat is very compact, so there's not a lot of space, and the students found that to be very interesting. So it's a great course, and I think we have a lot of students that really do gain a lot of knowledge from that. We also offer nursing. We are hoping going forward that we'll be able to add nursing too. That would also have a simulation component with it, with the nursing 2 program. And I might defer to Nurse Douglas here. I believe when they do the nursing 2, they also have an opportunity to earn their CNA license. One of the things that happens with the simulation is that we would partner with the Cottage Hospital. They have a sim lab that our students would be able to work through, and then also be able to do internships through the hospital. If you go to the next one. I know that, so these are some pictures from, one of the class sessions. And I know that Nurse Kelsey Perkins will be here later to do a report, and she will tell a little bit more about her class at that time. But she's a firecracker. She does a lot with these kids, and she has, just in 1 year, I've seen an increase in her enrollment in the class. So there's definitely a need for it, and we really would like to transition to the nursing too and be able to offer a full-scale opportunity for our students. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Molson to talk about the Automotive Program, and then he'll introduce the next teacher after that.
Hi, good evening. My name is Derek Molson. It's a pleasure to be in front of everybody tonight speaking. Just want to talk a little bit about my class. We offer two of them. We have an intro to automotive, where basically students begin the basics of, a little bit of shop life. We'll start out in safety, some similar measurements, and things of that sort. And as they kind of go forward, the idea is to basically take your average teenager who has very little driver experience, unfortunately, and basically get it so they can be able to be a bit more self-service for themselves. They can change their spare tire. They don't necessarily call mom and dad at 2 o'clock in the morning. So as we go through our semester, it's a big thing. So as we go through our semester, they're going to go from like measurements to tools to a little bit more basic fluids, things of that sort, like all your basic core systems of the car. When we move into our advanced, what we're going to do is move along a little review of what we did in the intro, and then basically move it along into more in-depth analysis of the system and drivetrains. That include rebuilding small gas engines. We brought that program back about a year ago, kind of especially with Covet and everything. That was very interesting. Trying to get that back up and running, but so we killed to rebuilding engines at this point. We're doing drivability diagnosis, a little bit of light metal fabrication, which is actually something I kind of wanted to mention to you in about a minute or two. A little bit of student independent projects. We have some of our juniors and seniors bringing their vehicles in to where they can actually be a little bit more perspective of working on their own things, where instead of just sending it down to Donnell or to the repair shop, they take a little bit more equity in their future. Basically, cars are expensive. There's no way about it. So it's a little personal story. My girlfriend actually just spent $3,000 on her car this weekend for tires, a set of brakes, and I think a tune, which was kind of crazy to me because when I think about what we could do with that money, I go, oh my God. So as we kind of go through stuff, what I'd like to do is, as we go in the future, I'd like to add a little bit more wealth. We used to have a metals lab here where we were able to get a little bit more with the mills and the bridge ports, and I think we can bring that back. We don't necessarily have to have all that equipment, but like some things like welders, some of the torch work, a little benders and brakes. I came from motorsports, so I love race cars and tube frames, so hopefully I'm going to kind of fall in love with that too. If you want to go to the next slide, we got a couple pictures. So we've got a couple of students working here where, we have such a great group of students where they're going through, we're doing situations like, we've got starters, we've got computer analysis, we've got a little torch work, some of our small gas engines, of course, going right there. I've got them slide too. And same thing, as we go through the basics of battery, our spare tire changing at the end of it. So again, mom doesn't have to get called at 2 o'clock in the morning. Some more small gas engines or fluid service. It's the basics of what these kids really need, in the future going on board and taking a little bit of ownership of that, of their automotive. Because the fact is, everybody has a car. Everybody's going to need one, So even just the ability, if they're not going to be mechanics in the future, just the ability to go to the garage and intelligently speak to an automotive professional to where they can understand what's happening with the cars. So that's kind of where our program lies, and hopefully in their benefit, that's kind of what it's really geared towards. In the future, like I said, I'd love to bring back a little bit of the metals and fabrication. I know we've talked about investing in some new welders and some fabrication tools. If that would be a possibility, I'd like to start another class where the kids kind of into this. One of the things that I've noticed in the industry outside of my automotive and our education, I'm also working a little bit of like heavy landscaping, stonework, and things of that sort. So like our loss of our landscaping curriculum is also a huge role in the story. We bring that back in. So I hope that, I've got some big plans for our future in our Automotive Program and hopefully the whole Vocational community. I know Tom's got some great stuff going on. I even have a couple of snacks. I apologize, I can't bring a car to show you. Pictures are there. So I'd like to introduce Tom Croach here, and he's in our culinary department. And thank you very much for your time tonight.
Another question to the chair. You said twice, 2 a.m.
2 a.m.
Yeah, because you don't want people calling their
Oh,
parents.
yeah,
But can you teach the kids how to help someone out
absolutely.
when they have to let their tires down to 15 pounds?
That's what thanks.
Or a tow rope?
We
I'm not saying our kids don't, but sometimes when I'm not trying to be funny about it, but you have someone
No,
who
you're
comes to
100% right.
Nantucket, and you're talking about doing this, doing that, but there might be someone, is
Absolutely.
there, in your course, do you offer, okay, oh my God, this person is buried deep with a kid in the back,
One of the things,
and they ran in the Jeep?
I might be painting with a broad brush here, but I've always kind of taken with my kids, if someone falls down, you help them up. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's not you're helping somebody with a flat tire, you're helping somebody who's stuck in the sand, you're helping somebody with a talent that you have. In my opinion, one of the things that I think as we try to go forward as a community is we have these rounded individuals that if everybody starts communicating and helping each other out, we have a much better overall self-community and we have people that want to invest in that community. So that's kind of where my class comes from. So the example of not calling your parents at 2 o'clock in the morning as far as self-reliance, that's just the benefit to mom and dad. But the reality is that self-reliance is also the ability to help other people. And so in order to basically take your abilities and basically go around to other people and basically share that knowledge. So that's kind of where my class comes from, and I know as far as the rest of our VOTech program, I mean, we're all on the same page when it comes to that. I mean, that's the end result is a better kid, a better society.
Have you ever thought about bringing a Cairo to one of these soft spots, getting stuck, and teaching people how to help someone get out of that spot?
We try to avoid that.
No, I'm saying,
15 pounds, yeah.
I'm trying to think ahead, but I'm saying like,
In the very-
if that kid pulls up and someone from, we will use the state, but they're buried 4 wheels deep.
A blue plate state. It's okay.
Okay, and my point is, how would that kid, they took this course, I took this course, this is what we gotta do.
So, in all honesty, yeah, basically what it comes down to is air pressure adjustments, spare tire changes are something we do in the first 2 weeks right off the bat. So, when I look at this kid, the very first thing I'm gonna do is even if for whatever reason this kid's got some problems going on in life to where they may be disassociate from the class for a quick second, you can still get this needed information that they need, and all of a sudden you can bring these kids back in. So yeah, as these kids go out, they do have this knowledge to go out and help people, but that's also like their ambition to want to go out and help somebody. That's what we try to work on as a personality. Like I'm gonna John Robert Sternberg here for a second. You have like your principles of education, and you have basically analytical, you have practical, and you have creative. And what we do really well is we have core classes that cover analytical. We have our arts classes that cover creative, and then our practical, this is where our VOTech courses come in. So basically that practical knowledge is which is what we all rely on. I mean, something simple as a loose drawer in the kitchen, the simple just matter of taking a screwdriver and tightening that screw. That's that practical knowledge that we want to gain to kids. And the goal is if they take that practical knowledge and they're able to share that with the community, I mean, that's why we're investing in this as a high school. So that's the ingrained in the entire curriculum of all our VOTech classes. But
Thank you very much.
thank you very much for your time.
If I may, the chair, sorry. Do you think that you would be maybe proposed to offer this class to adults?
I get that asked quite a bit. I've definitely thought about that. I'm actually just in the middle of trying to finish my master's and a whole bunch of other stuff, a bunch of different jobs. If I can find some extra time, it's something that, I've talked to Tracy Roberts about as far as community school and opening up to adult education.
It would bring in the extra revenue possibly,
I
and maybe
would
towards the
consider it.
welding.
Yeah, I would definitely consider it. It's something that, as we continue these conversations further, we can dive into. It's definitely something I would consider. I'd like to talk about all the attributes of that program and kind of how that whole thing will go together. Because again, like our biggest focus is the kids, it's high school.
Correct.
But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Tom Croach, a culinary instructor here at NHS. First of all, I have 2 of my awesome students here that are going to walk around and pass out some snacks. I have a nice sausage pastry that you guys will enjoy, as well as some individual apple tartlets. Mrs. Proch, take 2 because I'm not cooking at home. And I also have little pumpkin breads that you can take home with you, okay?
There's no potassium in it. Is there?
Now's not the time,
Okay.
Mr. Fox. As far as my courses go, firstly, we have nutrition. There's nothing nutritious about this that he's passing around, but a lot of the things that I talk about in nutrition class, because I am who I am, it always revolves around food. I can't help it. No matter what I'm talking about, food's gonna come into it. But some of the other things we talk about is what food has, what kind of effect it has on you. And if you're going to the Cumberland Farms every day and buying Gatorades and what have you, it's not gonna help you. So I'm trying to impress upon the kids about a healthy diet. Also about healthy choices, about staying away from alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, those types of things. I do also feed my kids all the time. I can't help it. They're teenagers, I have food. It just goes together. So that's my nutrition course. It's not a full year course, but a lot of the administration tends to lead kids towards nutrition before taking culinary. Nutrition is available to all 4 grades. Some kids ask me, do I have to take nutrition in order to take culinary? The answer is no, but it's a good introduction to me, my classroom, and start the conversation about food. So, Culinary 1, these are first-year students, juniors, although seniors can take it as well. This introduction to cooking it starts off with food safety, tool safety, how to hold a knife, how to carry a knife. And then we move into basic eggs. And a lot of my students, I have to say, this year, I'm going to teach them how to flip an egg, and they're rolling their eyes because they already know how to do it. But I have to say, this year has been the biggest year for my first-year students already having cooking knowledge. It's amazing. And I was thinking of it one day, and I think it might have something to do with COVID. A lot of these kids for the last year and a half have been in their homes, and not that they were forced to cook, but I think they just gravitate towards the kitchen, maybe watch a YouTube, and so I'm really pleased about that. We'll move out of eggs and we're moving into other things. Right now we're making creme brulees, and some kids know what it is. Some kids don't, but they'll sure know in a couple days. My culinary 2s. Now this course, this is their 2nd year of cooking, so I expect more things from these students. They should already know how to use a knife, how to carry a knife, how to do the basic cooking, pan frying, sauteing, and we do some great stuff. Something about culinary is I might just get some fish one day. A friend might say, hey, I got some striped bass. Guess what? We're doing striped bass today. I'll do a demonstration on how to fillet a fish. I'll make a dish for them. And it's interesting because some kids, I don't eat fish. Just try this. And I'll make a small dish. This is unbelievable. Of course it is. You know, I try to encourage kids, try things. You know, if you've never tried it, just give it a try. Soon we'll be into deer season. I will have some donated deer, and I will teach the students how to fabricate an entire deer. And one of the important things is that we don't waste anything. It comes without the head skin, but I'll show them how to utilize every cut, take those bones, roast them, make a stock, so nothing is going into the trash. So it's important, I think, for the students to understand where food comes from, whether it's a chicken, fish. So those are some of the things we do. I believe, do you have any photos you can click on? I think one of the great things we also do is, we don't do it every Thursday, but we have a Thursday offering. So things we're working on between Culinary 1, Culinary 2, we'll put together a menu that we can offer to the different schools here. That is one sample menu. I believe there's maybe mussel soup there. It was a big hit. One class learns how to steam the mussels, how to practice their dicing onions, celery, what have you. And the next class might take that stock, thicken it, learn about thickening and roux and what have you. So this is a great thing. I love to do it. We get a lot of positive feedback, which is wonderful. And it generates some money to go back into the program. As I said, this year, my culinary ones have been just amazing. And I have quite a few students who are looking to actually go into the field, so that makes me very happy. Something else we are putting together right now, our culinary team for competition. This year, the Pro Start culinary competition is March 22nd at Gillette Stadium. So we're just starting to have our team meetings, but soon we'll start talking about food, kicking around ideas, and we'll formulate a menu. And we'll be, I tell my students, and it's true, the other high schools are watching what Nantucket does, because we always do well. And maybe because it's a huge restaurant town, but excuse me, there's just great knowledge here. And I can get local chef friends to come in and talk to the kids and give them so. Any questions? Yes.
How did your classes, how were they affected by COVID last year?
Well, honestly, it was difficult. I was fortunate to get equipment, cutting boards, knives, measuring cups, those things donated from the Massachusetts Restaurant Association. So I was able to actually drop these off at kids' houses. Not all of them took it. We don't know what they have at their own home, you know. So, but basically, at the beginning, I was like in a cooking show because I had nobody in the class. I'm talking to a little screen, and all I see is icons. I don't see any kids' faces. I mean, you guys, can you see this? And I'm dicing, and you know. But it worked. Like the rest of our vocational courses, we did our best. But as I said, I have a feeling that because of COVID, these kids got into cooking in their own homes. So.
Marky?
Yes, when you say fabricated deer, you say from the head down, does that mean the deer comes to you all already skinned, hooves off, the whole soup to nuts?
Right. It's just.
I mean, not soup to nuts, but I mean like you get the whole.
You're trying to be
like,
funny, aren't you?
no,
No,
I mean like there's no head. Does that mean?
That's correct. The head is gone, the legs are gone, the skin is gone. So it's basically just for butchery. What's
Okay,
gonna happen?
but when you say fabricate, where does the deer skin go to once it's been skinned?
I don't know.
You know.
Yeah, I don't get to do it that way.
Okay, and then the second thing I have, and the last thing, so when you said this menu is offered to the school, so the kids can come and order this menu, or?
Not the kids, it goes out to the staff. So the
Staff.
teachers from the NHS and the CPS, NIS, and the other one, elementary. The teachers get the
And that
emails.
comes in to go?
Yeah,
Is that,
yeah, we package it up.
do we get that?
You're not on the mailing list, Mr. Fox?
No, sir.
I'll make sure you get in there.
My bad,
Um,
muscle
It used to be Friday offerings, But on a Friday afternoon, teachers got one thing in mind, and that's get
See you on
out.
Monday.
So they would forget. So I made it Thursday. This gives them a day to
Yeah,
remember.
right on. That's all I
Pick it
have.
up.
Thank you, sir.
No questions? No, sounds wonderful. No questions?
I will say that those meals were awfully good. I keep Kathy away from the stove.
I appreciate it.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gervin from our wood shop will be our next speaker.
Yeah, thank you for the treat. A+. Where's your tip come?
Yeah, right.
Oh, he brought props.
They actually volunteered to come. I told them I was nervous, and they said, "Can you help?"
Right on.
The classes that I offer are Wood 1, Wood Tech 1, which is just an introduction to wood technology. Kids learn to measure accurately to a 1/16 of an inch. Shop safety, and we go through some projects along the way, and then they get to work on something independently after that. Sorry, my mask is a little bit. Wood Tech 2 is, as it says up there, we do, well, we'll stay with Wood Tech 1. These are gifts from Wood Tech 1. You can pass these down. These are pens that were turned by my students. And Macy's going to talk about those in a second. But in Wood Tech 1, we do quarter boards. We begin with these. They're it's a router. It's a measuring and a layout project, and then they use the router with different bits, like for a convex or a concave kind of a thing. Macy did some carving because Rich Leone, a retired teacher, comes in and is more creative than myself, and so he helps out with things like scallop shells. And then Macy's a TA this year. I had her last year, first semester, for only 6 weeks because she kept getting bumped. So she is a student, but a TA because she's a senior and she gets to do that. So she helps out with my younger kids. And she did this. This is the name of her father's boat, and that's a beautiful project. The pens they do second. They turn those on a lathe. That's a $2 pen kit, and we just use scrap pieces of hardwood. The dark stuff is walnut, there's mahogany, there's maple, there's different finishes as you can see, and they have replaceable cartridges that you can buy at the stationery store. Moving to Wood 2, my first class, if you follow us on NHS Woodshop on Instagram, we have a pretty cool time. This is Max Beebe, and he did a coffee table, which was our beginning project, and that's for the kids that have already done Wood 1. And so this is do you want to talk about it, Max? I love putting children on the spot and just following them with sarcasm, and so Max is ready to go.
The base, we made it mortise and tenon, which Irvin explained better than I could.
It's a fasten, like there's no fasteners to it, it's just a glued joint system, and then the top.
I did it out of cherry wood, and it's biscuit jointed.
And we tapered the legs, and they're more advanced woodworking, but they're beautiful, and they get the choice of like leaving them natural or painting them or whatever they want to do. I like them to be creative and do their own thing. I teach a general repair class, which I think will be the final year of teaching that, primarily because it's hard for me to come up with a curriculum for it and to maintain it. I work a lot with Demo, the head of facilities at the high school, and we do a lot of work around the school. We do some wiring and some plaster repair, and we do a little bit of plumbing if I can get somebody to come in and sweat pipe with me with a torch and stuff, kids like that. But primarily that's waning, and in place of that, I would like to bring in probably a primitive woodworking class, which I've done in the past, which is making stick furniture and turning green bowls and stuff on the lathe. It's a little bit more rustic, but it's more creative, and it's different from typical joinery. And then the fourth class that I teach is carpentry, which is the shed building class out back, and that's probably valuable locally as far as kids getting out of school, because of the kids that I've taught in my 8 years here, they're the ones that tend to go into the carpentry field and join crews and do construction. And then the rest of the kids that, like these guys here, who are totally into what they do, but these are the kids whose get a lathe for Christmas and turn pens and do cool things and be creative and also go on to other things in their lives. So it's a good hands-on out for kids, just like all of our classes that we teach. I was only given 3 minutes and everybody else took so long.
Do you have any questions on this?
I have a question.
Yes.
So this is made in your classroom, right?
Yes.
So what I was thinking where Mr. Croach said that the money that he does with his menu
Yes.
goes back into his.
Yes.
If you were to take this and engrave it a little bit,
Yep.
and burn it
Yep.
with the school year
Yep.
or the school logo, I'd buy 50 of these.
We have talked about doing that in the past, and I know there's an older retired person on the island that does a bunch of these things, because you can do bottle stoppers for wine bottles, you can do bottle openers, you can do all kinds of stuff. And the kits are cheap. I mean, that's a $2 pen kit.
It's a $2 pen like this,
And they-
but it's a $50 pen if it's engraved NHS.
Totally. No, you're right. And we've thought about stuff like
2021.
that for my seniors. Like Macy's a Wood 1 TA, and she was shorted last year because we were bumped so often first semester, so she only got 6 weeks of this class. But she spun a whole bunch of pens. And as a senior, I think as like an obligation to December Delight, it'd be a great thing. And that the guy that sells them down at St. Paul's Fair gets around 30.
We have a lot of artists who do Irish scrimshaw.
Yep.
Who would be more than willing to step in and say, let's do something here. Because
That's the
this is a
thing.
$2 pen, but with the school logo on it,
Yeah.
it becomes a $50 pen.
Whale or Pride.
Real quick.
No, you're absolutely right. And there's other, what was I going to say that about? With regards to profiting the program, the shed building, when I started, there was an issue with raffling off the sheds in the program prior to mine. And it was deemed that you can't game with students. It was considered gaming, like gambling, whatever. So instead of doing that, each person that comes to me, like, and this is a public thing that people are always saying, like, how do I get a shed? How do I get a shed? All you have to do is just say, Kim Kuvich comes to me and says, Gervin, I need a shed. And I say, what size do you want? Draw a picture, da 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 da. We open an account with Island Lumber. We build the shed. And a 10 by 12 before the lumber prices went up was $4,500.
Oh.
With a window and a double door, a board and back door. And it was cheap. And then all my friends at Toscana and Colgate Partners and all those guys, Pat Marks, and then they would move them for free. And then the obligation to the person that we were building them for was a $1,500 donation to the program. So that program has generated great money in the past 8 years. It goes into it has to go through you guys. You've probably seen the checks that come through. And that goes into the high school whichever account. And then I don't have to dip into the budget. So that's a great thing. But you're right about the pens and the local.
I need a shed.
What's
Yeah, I
that?
have a question, yes, if I may.
Yeah.
How many sheds can you do a year? Or is it
The
one
best year I had when we were really productive and people really in the queue, we did 5 in a year, which was a banner year. Last year, we struggled to get that little one out to Codfish Park that was 4 feet by 6 feet. I have a 12 by 16 out there right now that should be done in 2 weeks. And then just lumber was dropped off again today for another one. And there's people in the queue again, so it's back and running. So, I mean, this year, maybe 4, which would be great. You know?
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Mullin?
No questions. No questions. It's beautiful. I love it.
I'm glad you guys are here.
Yes, thank you for the pen. I'm always in awe of your students when you have the winter festival and we can come and see the work that your students are doing and Derek's and Tom's students, but just the talent
Oh,
of
it's
your
awesome.
kids, and it's evident here tonight.
Totally.
We're so lucky to have the classes that we have
No,
because
we absolutely are. Max said it the other day, like we were standing in the class, and you said, when you said, we're so fortunate to be able to make things that we're making, like these tables, it's true, you know, and there's a lot of people, I guess that, you know, Logan, I'll direct this from right to you, but little donations that come in on the sly here and there. When Carter Mitchell closed his wood shop, you know, during COVID, it was right when we were bumped out, he had an enormous wood shop, and he had beautiful pieces of hardwood that were no good to him because the grains were swirly or they were knotty, and that's what these guys benefited from making that. But like when Rich Leone came in, who was a 36-year veteran of the system that you had probably, right? Yes, you, Mr. Fogg.
You taught art.
Yeah, he did teach art, but he also did woodshop. He did all the wooden tools hanging in the woodshop that are
Yeah, I
hanging.
never had him do that.
Yeah, well, he did everything, Rich Leone. But Rich said that these kids know how incredible it is that they're walking away with tabletops that are made out of, and it's true. I mean, that's a beautiful table. I didn't do that when I was in high school. It's very cool. So, anyway, that's my woodshop program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
And if I may, if you'll go to the last slide, please. So we just, we talked together with the teachers, and I want to say thank you to the great presentation that they did, as well as the students who were here to support the program. I'm always amazed when I go into their classes. The work that these kids do and the work that the teachers are bringing out of them and the talent is just, it's phenomenal. And I love going in. It's a great place to go whenever you need a break. That's like watching a break. So we talked a little bit about short-term and long-term goals. Short-term, what we're anticipating that may happen either this year or by next school year is to add the welding to the automotive program. It would be a unit to start. Have the culinary will be entering some competitive events, which they were not able to do last year, and actually, I understand, was canceled even the year before that. Next year, we are anticipating adding our nursing too, but we also want to add back landscape environmental science. We've kind of changed that up a little bit because we wanted to have an environmental perspective so that students are learning about preserving the land and sustaining our island, and the beauty that we have here. In long term, we've already been talking about adding marine technology, and hospitality and marketing is definitely, right now it's pipe dream. We're hoping that we'll be able to add that at some point. I know that Chef Roach is really interested in the hospitality because it matches up with culinary so well. And the marine tech, the hospitality and marketing, the landscape environmental science, they all just fit right into the innovation pathways programs that we've been working on with Dr. Bardsley. So thank you very much for your support tonight.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Sorry, through the chair. I remember when you applied for the job, you were very pro-vocational.
Yes, sir.
I was on the search committee when you came through. Did you serve me?
I serve everybody.
But what I don't see on here, I don't see no plumbing or electric on here at all. If you're doing vocational, you're doing woodworking, you're doing welding, you're doing automotive. A lot of the trades out there, you're doing carpentry. Why? And you have, go to school to create, you have to be a junior or a senior.
Juniors and seniors are able to do that.
So my question is, since there's so much work right now for plumbers and electricians, why is that not one of your vocational
Because
aspects?
most likely we wouldn't be able to get a teacher because they're making way too much more money than what we could pay them as a teacher. We would love to add something like that.
Okay, my question is, could a student, as a junior or a senior, use their school career to go be a journeyman for an electrician or a plumber?
Yeah, we had a student who did that last year, as a matter of fact. So
We have
yes, sir.
we have a bunch of kids that are working electrical right now that started in high school, at school to career. The course that I was talking about that I teach was a general repair class, is based on my own wiring knowledge, which is okay. I mean, it's within my realm of the code, but I'm not a qualified electrician. But you make a valid point. But it's like Mandy said, the trick now is because the boom continues to boom, is to get people that want to come in and do it. Unless if we could find retired people that would want to come in, I would keep that class alive if I could tap into that resource where they could commit to helping me teach units on it. Because Rocky, it's a really good.
I guess my question is not to teach the class, but do these kids know they have an opportunity to go take a
They do.
do a plumbing or
They totally do,
electrical?
because my friends, like, I started off in the trades before I went back to school for education, and the friends that I have out here now constantly pound me for who do you have, and so the plumbing, and I have plumbing friends that do it, and I have electrical friends that do it, and carpentry friends, and those kids, like, I will say it over and over again, Pete from Even Flow Ducted Air constantly, Pat Levesque constantly saying.
Well, I'm sure
if I
Tom's
could-
getting hit up too on hospitality and restaurants
Yeah,
and stuff like
but
that. Tom,
you know-
where's your guys? Where's your guy?
Yeah, no, and I think the tough thing is just that sell to the younger class, the lower classmen, to say, look, there's people in the community that if you're not looking to college, they want you to, and maybe that's something that we have to address and take more seriously locally, because there's.
Absolutely, and I believe that, Mr. Horton could probably speak to this better than I could, but my understanding too is marine technology is something that they've been wanting to bring in, but again, trying to find the teacher. So Dr. Bardsley and I actually just had a meeting with Egan Maritime on a way that we can start to plan to bring this in that might be a better fit. So without having to hire a full-time teacher.
Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry to make this meeting go longer than you all want to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to ELL update.
If I may, through the chair, I just want to let everyone know that Patty Obi, our Director of English Learners, is not present physically with us today, but she will be present with us via telephone. She unfortunately broke her foot last night. So she is home and hopefully on the mend. I will be switching her.
Oh, hi.
Why don't you put your bag and pick your foot?
Apologize, the video that she had created had closed, so I just need to get it back up.
Good evening and welcome to Nantucket Public Schools Access Report. This report is for Access 2021, given between January and May of 2021. It measures growth towards language acquisition for students acquiring English. It is a summative assessment to measure growth over a full school year. Hello, my name is Patty Obi, and I'm the Director of English Language Learning for Nantucket Public Schools. You can find me at aubep@npsk.org. My office is in charge of overseeing 3 types of students. The first are the English language learners, the ones that take access. These are in need of special English instruction to acquire proficiency in academic English. Then there are former English language learners that have had enough language that they're ready to be instructed in English, but still need help in specialized instruction in content areas. Finally, there are multilingual learners. These are any students that are exposed to languages other than English in their homes. Massachusetts has experienced a considerable demographic change since 2010. With Nantucket experienced the highest growth rate in Massachusetts at 40.1%. Thought I'd start this presentation off with a quote from one of my favorite poems. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. We have real work to do in Nantucket. There are 1,704 students in the Nantucket Public Schools. 707 of those students have home languages other than English. That means 41.5% of the students go home and hear or speak languages other than English. There are 250 English language learners, which means 14.8% of our population are identified as English language learners. And these students are all multilingual learners, and they're working twice as hard, according to research, to obtain the same result. Native English speakers without disabilities, they're just focused on content. But students that are learning English at the same time without disabilities are focusing on learning the language and the content at the same time. This is really clear when we look at the MCAS by subgroups. Our white population is outperforming our Hispanic population fairly significantly. We saw this in the MCAS report. We also saw this chart in the MCAS report, which highlights how Ls are doing in regards to MCAS, as well as former Ls. And we're doing pretty well with our English language learners, and they're pretty comparable to the state's percentage rates. However, it's a different story for our former English language learners. Let's look a little closer at the data. For our Ls, state, if 50% are partially meeting, and 14% meet, and only 1% exceed. So that makes sense, because if you're an English language learner, you're still learning English, so therefore you won't be performing proficient on the MCAS yet. Nantucket Ls, 53% are partially meeting and 9% are meeting. When you do the math, it's really only moving 4 students from partially meeting to meeting, and that's for grades 3 through 8. That's doable. This is also doable, but it's going to take more effort and more work for many more people. If you look at the state's former English language learners, 41% are partially meeting and 44% meet. Nantucket, we have 64% that are partially meeting with 26% meeting. That means we need to move about 22 students from partially meeting to meeting on MCAS from grades 3 through 8. It's doable, but it's a heavier lift and will take many hands to do it. So when we look at progress over multiple years for access and dig a little deeper, we are doing pretty well. Pretty much staying at that 60% of adequate progress every year since 2016. A little dip this year with the pandemic year, but I'm sure our team will be able to bring that back up. There are 173 English language learners that have progress scores. 78 of them made progress this year. That's 55%. It's 5% lower than the state would like us to see, but I think we can make that up this year. The great news is that 60 English language learners were reclassified in 2021. It's 23%. That's a wonderful number, and our teachers are working hard to make sure students acquire language. But there's still real work to do yet. We really do need to focus on sheltering our content in our general classroom areas and making sure that we are allowing for students to practice academic language, to speak academic language, to read academic language, and to write academic language, and give them the time and access to models and good teaching in order to do that. Here's our plan for this year. We are going to have English language learner success plans shared with stakeholders, such as teachers, families, and other educators. And we are also going to have meetings to monitor their progress throughout the year instead of just relying on access. We also have an SEI coach to deliver job-embedded professional development. This has started this year and it is going wonderfully. There's been reports of many teachers talking with our SEI coach and implementing some of the SEI strategies that have been proven effective in growing academic language among multilingual learners. We do want to maintain rigorous and grade level content, curriculum. We want to make sure what we're doing well, and we keep the high standards. We are looking to increase our biliterate staff, and I'm happy to report that we have just hired an ESP that is English and Portuguese speaking. And we are looking to build community connections to offer wraparound services for students that are in need. Because when an affective filter is lowered and students feel safe, the ability to acquire language becomes easier for the students. So that's what we are working on in our office this year. I'll be happy to answer any questions now. Thank you for your time.
No questions.
No questions.
I do, and Patty, I appreciate that this is a presentation on our EL population, but I can't sit here and look at the graphs without commenting here that it is disturbing to me that our African American Caribbean families are just barely above our EL students across EL, math, and science. And so I wonder if, and this isn't new, this is something that it has been part of our history, and we've talked about improving those scores for all students, but I'm wondering if you will be able to have a chance to look at what works for our EL students. I recognize that the students I'm talking about do not come under a category of a second language necessarily, but I would love us to be able to talk about ways that we can implement structures in the classroom that we know work for our EL students, because we have to bring these scores up. This is just, it's not acceptable, and to know that there's very little difference between a student that's possibly got English as their first language to a child who's got it as a second language, I would have hoped to see greater differences in the scores. So this is a lot of information. I love all the detail that you've included. And again, I appreciate this is an EL presentation, but I felt compelled to at least bring it to our attention for future conversation, please. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Colleen. Thank you for your comment. You're absolutely correct that we need to make some adjustments and shifts in our approach to the students that are here on Nantucket now, and we are working towards that. Although SEI strategies are developed specifically for students to inquire and grow their language, those strategies are also the teaching for students that need it for other reasons. So by implementing the SEI strategies across the entire school system and not just focusing on our English language learners, not that we're going to forget about them because we have a plan for them too, but it should help to bring up the scores when we are able to successfully implement these practices and train our teachers on them.
Thank you, Patsy.
Marky?
No questions.
Am I allowed to ask a question? I just don't know what ESP means. The ESP that speaks, is it a school interpreter for the district that speaks English and Portuguese?
So ESP is an educational support personnel, and they include our administrative assistants in our offices, so our front office staff and any administrative assistants that assist directors. So in the EL office, there are 2 ESPs.
Are they available district-wide for interpreting?
They are available to assist, but they are not necessarily interpreters. Our interpreters are in, we have Eileen Taveras for Spanish, and we have Cecilia Gutierrez who works with the special education department. We are working on, and we hope that our new Portuguese-speaking ESP can assist with some of that, but that is not her direct role. We hope that that can certainly be something that she works with us on.
Okay. I'm just saying, it's needed because Linguistica takes a long time, which is great to have that resource, but yeah, it's definitely needed.
Okay, Martin isn't here, so we'll skip over that. Nantucket Boys and Girls Club. Jamie?
Hey, Jamie.
Hello.
Thanks, Rocky, for having me at the very end.
Whoa. Whoa, I flew back. Just to be here early. I'm not sure Logan didn't get that too, but I was back here at 5 o'clock.
Well, thank you, Dr. Helen and committee for having kind of a long overdue talk probably with the Boys and Girls Club. Just a little background, even though I'm pretty pretty much know everyone. I've been at the Boys and Girls Club for 16 years, pretty much every role, and was the executive director starting in January when Phyllis retired. And my wife's the high school guidance counselor for 12 years. So we're pretty dialed in the community, and especially all the kids that we serve. And so, like a lot of families, we come home and talk about school and club and kids and what we do. And you know, a lot of the times at the end of a conversation, in between my kids throwing peas at each other, we say, you know, why doesn't the club know about this? Why doesn't the school know about this? And you know, just got me thinking about our collaboration together. This is kind of why I came to you. I wanted to speak to the committee to help identify how we can collaborate better between the public schools and the Boys and Girls Club. As we all know, when schools and clubs collaborate, youth are better supported in achieving academic success and social, emotional development. As schools and clubs operate with limited resources, collaboration will allow both to leverage the resources that we have to support the youth, which is why we're all here. On this island, you know, we always talk about the issues: lack of qualified staff, housing, volunteers, and that list goes on and on. My question is, why haven't we been more creative on the solutions? We always like to talk about the problems, but don't think about the solutions we have right here on the island. I've engaged other Boys and Girls Clubs in New England and New England representative for Boys and Girls Club, and come to find out, a lot of this can be achieved with a partnership. They do it every day. You just need the schools and the club to be a cohesive unit. Suggestions, what I've talked about with Kim before and some other administration. Share curriculum, learning goals, and youth strengths and needs. We are trying to do the best for our kids, but if we don't know what the school wants us to give them, there's a disconnect. Coordinate transportation. I know sometimes we've had some issues with buses and transportation. Travis Lombardi has my cell phone, which is a bad idea for sports teams and our vans. Shared learning spaces, tools, materials. Our building sits empty during the day. If you need anything, just ask. Collaborate on professional development opportunities between both of us. You know, we bring in a lot of people, you know, and are very talented. There's no reason why teachers couldn't, or admin, come to us, or if you're doing a staff presentation that would benefit our staff, for them to come here. Share staff and volunteers. There's no reason why we couldn't talk and some of my staff come over during the day for a couple hours and help at the elementary school, at the middle school, at the NIS. I mean, that's going to help our club because our staff are going to build bonds with the kids during the day. It goes both ways. There's no reason why a teacher can't come over to the club for an hour and help with homework. We have resources here with housing. We're just not utilizing them. And the big one, I think, too, and I know we've discussed before, is serve on each other's boards and committees. To my knowledge, there's not one Boys and Girls Club staff or trustee that's involved with the schools and vice versa. And it's kind of a shame. I mean, we work with all the same kids. We should have someone from the school at the club and someone at the club at the school. And I understand these regulations on data sharing get a little interesting, but that shouldn't be the deterrent. There are ways to get around that parents would sign off on the club and the schools sharing information. The Boys and Girls Club is 65% of the Nantucket Public Schools children attend the Boys and Girls Club, which is a very large number. And it's in our best interest to foster this reciprocal relationship. So I ask you, school administrators, school committee, and Dr. Hallett, to take the next steps with our club and unite the common goal to empower the youth of Nantucket to reach their fullest potential. And I thank you for your time. I'm open for comments. I know there would be a lot to do, but I think this is a long overdue discussion that we need to have with the schools. So.
Rocky?
Yes. First and foremost, I didn't put you in the
I'm just kidding.
I took a plane to come back here.
I'm just kidding.
Before I was on this school committee in August, did you reach out to me?
Yes.
I said, Jamie, you can't talk to me yet. I haven't even been appointed. But I hear what you're saying. As you all know, I'm a big fan of Robin Harvey. I'm serving on the Boys and Girls Club board of directors for 5 years with Robin. I know how symbiotic the schools and the club are. Why it's been lost? Maybe part of COVID, but who knows? But it's time builders, and what you said, what resonated with me, what we just said the most was, why couldn't some of your staff, we're dying for a couple hours for someone to come over to the elementary school or NAS. Well, I'm going tomorrow, I'm working in, tomorrow, what I'm doing tomorrow for 2 hours, I'm going in the lunchroom at the high school. Because Becky Hickman said she needed help, so I'm posting up. My son's gonna hate it, but But what you're trying to build is a relationship with your kids. It's only making the relationship, when they get to the club, stronger if they see them during the day as they do in the afternoon. Now, one thing I would say is, there should be symbiosis when you say, someone should sit on your meetings, and someone should come here. There should be a liaison. Doesn't have to be a school committee member. It could be someone in the public who has the time to attend your board of directors meetings and these meetings and the subcommittee meetings. I mean, I would throw my name in that hat in a minute, because I think it's that important. I'm a huge club fan, huge, but I'm also a Nantucket School District fan as well. And I thank you for your time and your effort, and I know how hard you worked to get there, because when you got that job, who was your first reference?
Mr. Fox.
There you go.
Esmeralda?
I don't have any questions, but I do agree with you. I have small children that go to the public school, and eventually they'll make it to the club, and I would love to see that relationship between the club and the schools.
Laura?
Yes, if I may, it's, again, I don't have a question, but I would love to come up with ways that we could further the conversation and that we, as a board, could address that. I think everything you say is absolutely spot on, and I would be very interested in being a part of that conversation.
That's great.
Pauline?
Yep, no, I appreciate the time that you've taken tonight and putting your thoughts together, and I think, it got lost along the way. We have enjoyed strong relationships and collaboration, and maybe it is COVID, I'm not sure, but conversations start by prompting the question,
Yeah.
right? Which you've done tonight, so thank you for that.
Jamie, I think part of the problem was when adult boxing went away.
I knew that was coming up. I knew that was coming up.
Dr. Allen?
Yes, if I may, Jamie, thank you so much for coming and for bringing this up, because it is something that has not left my mind, but has been pushed out, and I realize that this needs to come to the forefront. So expect a phone call, and hopefully we can meet soon and start to rebuild.
And I totally get it. As we joked,
Yes.
both you and myself took over in COVID, so that
We
was
did.
interesting for our first year.
I agree.
So, but like I said, I think, the answer's not always off island. I think we have plenty of people here that if we get creative, we could really make a great cohesive unit.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Jamie.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Jamie.
Okay, moving on to amendment policy JJF, student activity accounts.
Sure, I'd be happy to speak to this. So the policy subcommittee met, and we completed the J policies, and the one policy that had a significant change to it was policy JJF, which is student activity accounts. In looking at the MASC most recent policy amendment or policy change, we decided that it was useful and meaningful to add some additional language. So I will read this additional language so that people can at least hear what this is. So in the first paragraph, the funds shall be managed in accordance with sound business practices, which include accepted budgetary and accounting, adding, and internal control practices. The superintendent shall ensure that annually all principals and student organizations receive a copy of this policy as well as a copy of established procedures for control of receipts and expenditures that meet or exceed DZ guidelines. So that is the added language that I read. Additional added language under number 1 includes all funds received for student activities must be deposited into the student activity agency account, and no funds shall be directly deposited into a student activity account except from the student activity agency account. So that language is more specific in adding to this policy. And the final addition of language is in number 3. Payments for expenditures shall be made whenever possible by check, debit, or EFT directly from the student activity checking account. Reimbursements to personal credit card holders shall require the prior authorization of the superintendent. Signatory authorization for student activity checking accounts shall be restricted to the principal and superintendent or treasurer. Student activity checking accounts shall be audited annually in accordance with DZ guidelines. So that is the added language that we felt was appropriate to bring in from the most recent MASC policy. So, I don't know if there's any discussion.
Martin?
Nope, that's us right there.
Esmeralda? Pauline? Okay. Moving on to committee discussions and votes to be taken. Can I have a motion to approve the school handbooks at NHS, CPS, NIS, and NES?
So moved.
Can I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A vote to approve amended JJ policy, co-curricular and extracurricular activities.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A vote to approve the donation from St. Paul's Church to Nantucket Elementary and Intermediate School for school supplies in the amount of $1,000.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve the donation from Stop and Shop A+ Awards to Cyrus Pierce Middle School in the amount of $1,939.64.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A vote to approve donation from the Nantucket Yacht Club to the Nantucket Athletics Tennis Program in the amount of $3,700.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the October 19th meetings, the minutes. Pauline, do you have?
I have no time, of course, I looked, but
Okay.
thank you. So moved.
Second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The October 26th workshop meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Transfers and invoices.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, subcommittee work group. The negotiations go on.
Yes.
That's all we can really say.
Mhm.
Student council representative.
I just wanted to comment more on like homecoming, as Dr. Hallett said. She mostly got all the points that I was going to discuss, but I just wanted to say it was a great success. It was a lot of fun. Spirit Week had a lot of participation. I was kind of shocked. Like there were a lot of kids who actually participated this year, so I thought that was good. And the doorway idea I thought was a really good incorporation, because I know like a lot of the students were like suspicious of it, but then like it really like it was like we bonded together. It was a lot of fun, so I think it should continue on to the future. So, and I think the hallways, as Dr. Hallett, they look really good. And actually I saw this year that I think students from the CPS actually came up to see them, so I thought that was
Nice.
yeah. And like seniors did Inside Out, the movie from Pixar, and then juniors did Haunted House, And sophomores did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and freshmen did like an outer space theme. So it was just really cool to see all the hard work that students put into it. And as you guys all know, we won the Island Cup, which is always a good thing. So, yeah. The quarter is ending this Friday, so students are getting busy to wrap up the quarter.
Heads up.
Yeah. Seniors are
Been there.
yeah, and seniors are getting ready for December Delight. There's actually a meeting that was happening like
Tonight.
tonight for it, so we're getting ready for that. And a lot of seniors also applied for early action for colleges, so that's exciting. Yeah, and I was one of them too. Yeah. And I talked to Mrs. Vassell about this, but she wanted me to mention a program that she's thinking of introducing to the school. Is Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. It's called the Safe Schools Program for LGBTQ students. And it's basically training that's going to be offered to both students and teachers on understanding gender identity, sexual orientation, and school climate. That's a quote. And it's just in order to achieve like an amount of respect for students in the school, because I think we should value like no student should feel like they should be ostracized. So I think allowing this training would be really beneficial for the community that is mostly impacted by it. So I think if you want to add anything else to it, I don't know.
When would that be offered?
We're working on a date.
Is that offered in school during the day, or is that something that from 2:30 on?
So we're looking at during the day, we want to do training with a group of our students, but also offer training for our teachers. One of the things that we have learned since the article about hate speech came out is that some students feel like that they're not being addressed like they might like to be in the classroom, and we believe that in part is because maybe they just don't know, our teachers don't know, and maybe students don't know. So we're trying to bring in the training to help with that. But what I just heard from Boston Key Flag this week about the possibility of coming in to do working with students, but also with the parent group.
Okay, moving on that, I think with Esmeralda and I being on the diversity committee, subcommittee, that'd be something that could fall under our auspicious, correct? That'd be something I'd like to know. To be diversity is not just based by race or color, it's be diverse. Do you agree with me?
I do agree.
So if you want to clue us in on that, let us know.
Please
how
do
Thank
so.
you so much.
Thank you.
We'd love to have you be part of that, and I'll keep you apprised of when we can get a date set. We're hoping to get something before the holiday.
Okay. Awesome.
Or the Christmas, December holiday.
Okay, agenda for the next meeting. I am suggesting that we do November 16th instead of November 23rd, just because of its proximity to the holiday.
When is school?
If I may, so school ends on the 23rd, so teachers and students will most likely not be available. We do have some students who are going to be honored at the next meeting, and my hope is that we would be comfortable meeting next Tuesday on the 16th in lieu of the 23rd, if possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's all about
Everybody
the
agrees
being
to
honored,
that?
let's-
Okay.
Because no one's going to be here on the 23rd.
So what are the other things?
Sure,
we
so
have?
other things that we will be seeing on the 16th are school improvement plans. So each of our principals and assistant principals will present school improvement plans. We will discuss as we mentioned, we were tabling the MASC conference, so we'll talk about some of the great sessions that we attended. I will be presenting MASS and NSDC awards to seniors of note for academic achievement. And we've completed the review of J policies, so we'll be putting those to vote. And we will have a preliminary budget forecast, which was postponed from tonight.
Okay.
Anything else from the committee? I'm watching you, Portland. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And I am.
Keep an eye on me. You should.
I'm sure we dropped a comma somewhere.
Well, we used to get them to look at, didn't we? Oh, that hasn't happened.
It
It was.
No, no,